Hey guys, how are you all doing? This is the MMA breakdown with my predictions for the Ultimate Fighter Brazil 3 finale, Miocic versus Maldonado. Um, Watched this card right after watching the Berlin card. I watched both of them straight through live, the whole day. Um, it was a lot, but not so bad. Everyone seems to be everyone seems to be down on this card, saying the Berlin card was a lot better. I didn't think this card was that bad. The Berlin card I think had some more interesting prospects, some really nice surprise performances, some better finishes, but I thought there were some fun fights on this card too. I'm not as down on it as everyone else seems to be, but let's run through the card. I'll give you my recap and my thoughts on all of the fights. Starting off with the Fight Pass preliminary card, Pedro Munos TKO'd Matt Hobar in the first round. Munos looked really good here. Really good striking. Landed a head kick and was able to land some good punches. Really went after Hobar. Timed his attack very well here. Waited for his moment to explode, and once he did, it was over. Munoz was a champion of, I believe it was Legacy Fighting. Let me see. No, RFA. Sorry. I think it was Hobar who was the champion of Legacy FC. But I've heard some hype about this guy. And taking on Rafael Senso in his debut, a really tall task. Just seems like an impossible feat for a newcomer. But he didn't even look bad in that fight. Just kind of got outpointed, and here really showed that he's a prospect to pay attention to. Really good striking, and I'm excited to see his next fight. Bantamweight is pretty weak outside of the top 5, and I do think with continued improvement he could possibly one day be in that top 10, but I think he'll do well going forward in the near future. I think maybe a good next fight for him might be a guy like Mitch Gagnon, who's been impressive and stacked up a few wins, but not over any really top guys. Maybe Russell Donn, who fought back in January, had a good fight there, and hasn't fought since. But I think he's promising. Pedro Munoz got a real good finish here, but Russell Donn. I like that matchup. Next up, Marcos Pezao, Rogerio de Lima KO'd Richardson Monstro Moreira in the first round. Pezao was, and these guys were both from the show, by the way, in case you didn't know. But Pezao, real dominant, brutal finish, very quick in the first round. They got in a clinch early. As soon as they broke the clinch, Pezao threw a big straight punch and looked like he might have broken Rick Monster's jaw, just face planted him on the mat. I thought it was a lot more impressive than anything he did on the show. And I actually picked Rick Monster to win this fight. But he didn't get a chance, wasn't competitive at all. Really nice win for Pezao. I hope Rick Monster gets another chance. I thought he gave Vitor Miranda a really tough fight on the show. I think he still has some skill, but who knows if he'll get that, if he'll stay in the UFC. I think he said he was going to drop down to light heavyweight regardless. And Pezao, I believe, is going to stay at heavyweight. I still think he might be a little small for some of the other guys at heavyweight. Well, maybe not when you consider guys like Roy Nelson, Pat Barry used to compete at heavyweight. Pezao isn't so small, but I don't really expect him to be able to compete with any of the top 10 guys, even years down the road. But I think he's going to have to start off at the bottom, and why not match him up next with Ruslan Magomedov, who picked up a win on the Berlin card, a new debuting heavyweight, both strikers. I think that would be a fun matchup. But Pezao looked good here, really dominant win. Next up, Ricardo Demente Abreu submitted Vagner Silva in the second round by rear naked choke. I picked Abreu to win this fight, and I said in my predictions, I really feel this guy should have been fighting in the finals against Warley Alves. I really thought he got robbed against Marcio Alexandre in the semifinals fight in the house. If anyone wants to debate that with me, feel free to. I really thought he got robbed, but anyway, Abreu came forward with that really wild, aggressive striking style, the same way he fought in the house. Was able to hurt Vagner Silva, though, dropped him a few times, which he didn't do in the house, and was able to get that rear naked choke. Good win for him, and I think he's also a guy who's pretty undersized at middleweight. I think he should drop to welterweight, but as long as he's fighting, other tough veterans, I think he could, do well, have some fun fights. And Vagner Silva, I wasn't impressed with him on the show. I don't think he has much to offer in the UFC, but nice win for Demente. I was really happy to see him get an exciting, dominant win here, because again, I'm really kind of bitter that he wasn't fighting Warley Alves. I really thought that he clearly beat Lyoto in the house. But moving on to the Fox Sports 1 preliminary card, Kevin Souza TKO'd Marca Diva in the second round, almost at the end of it. This was a really fun back and forth fight. Both guys throwing big strikes. Marca Diva, I think, had the more dynamic striking game. He was able to incorporate some kicks, but in the first round, he dropped Souza, was able to get on top of him, stay on top for a while. But then the end of the first round, Souza got back up and was able to whale some big punches on a Diva at the end of that round. I scored the first round for a Diva, but in the second round, Souza came out, both guys going after it again, back and forth. Then the end of the second round, Souza was able to gain the upper hand, just like he did at the end of the first, was able to back a Diva up against the fence and just throwing alternating right and left hand, big haymaker strikes, really hurt a Diva, and the fight was stopped with a Diva on the feet. Not a terrible stoppage. I thought it could have given him some more time to work, or waited until he dropped, but not a bad stoppage, and good win for Souza. And good win for a Diva who looked a lot more dangerous in this fight than he did in his debut against Jumabieke Twerhoon. But good win for Souza. I think he really needs to, become a more dynamic striker, incorporate kicks, use angles more with his striking. When in that finishing sequence, he was just throwing right hand, right, left, just kind of big, sloppy haymakers. It was enough to hurt a Diva, but I don't think that's going to work against better guys in the division. But Good win for him, especially considering in his debut he wasn't able to hurt Felipe Arantes at all. But good win for Souza, and actually just thinking about it right now, I think a good matchup for him, or a good next opponent for him, might be Nicholas Backstrom, who came off of a very good knockout, or a very good submission win over Ninamaki on the Berlin card. That might be a fun fight, but again, Souza, unless he makes some big improvements in his striking game, becomes more dynamic, I don't see him really becoming a top guy at featherweight. But it was a fun performance, fun fight. Next up, Ghassan Umalatov, decision Paulo Thiago. This was easily, I think, the worst fight on the card. Not exciting at all. I did pick Umalatov just because Thiago's been on such a slide lately, and no different here. I believe it was the first round, Umalatov was able to land a big punch that wobbled Thiago. I can't remember if he followed that up and was able to knock him down or not, but Umalatov was able to close the distance, get that clinch, really kind of muscle around Paulo Thiago. Thiago had the better striking, especially at distance. He was able to get off some kicks and punches, but couldn't stop Umalatov in the clinch, and Umalatov got a takedown or two, I believe, throughout the fight. Almost won for an anaconda choke at one point. He had that front headlock position on Thiago, but it was a pretty slow, tedious clinch fest, slow grappling match, very slow paced. But Thiago, I think, is done. I think he should retire. Some of the guys he's lost to, Brandon Thatch, Prazeres, Stun Gun, those guys have all been successful, and Umalatov doesn't seem to be on the level of those guys, and Thiago can't get past him. I think he should really retire, especially considering he's getting up there in age 33. But Umalatov, I don't expect him to really do anything at welterweight, and I'm not going to be excited about his next fight. He's really not a guy I'm going to pay attention to after this performance, but was able to get the win, and over a veteran like Paulo Thiago, I guess that's a good thing for him. But moving on, Elias Silverio submitted Ernest Chavez in the third round. Chavez seemed to have the better striking. He was using footwork, moving around more than Silverio. Silverio seemed kind of flat-footed, and Chavez was able to land some strikes. Hopping around. Seemed to be more active than Silverio early on. But that third round, Silverio's striking came alive, landed some solid jabs, and was able to take Chavez down and cinched in that choke. So nice to see him get a finish. I thought he was very conservative against Isaac Valley Flag, and then his fight at middleweight with João Zeferino I thought was terrible. But not a bad win for Silverio. Got the finish. Chavez I didn't think looked bad either. Showed some good striking. And seemed to be able to hang with Silverio for a while there on the feet. But not sure who Silverio should fight next. Maybe another grappler to really test where his grappling is at. Or a wrestler, rather. Maybe a guy like Vince Pichel, just coming off of a big win. But, he got the finish in the third round. Not a bad performance by either guy. But Silverio might have some promise. Chavez, I don't think so, really. Maybe at the really low end of the division. but not particularly excited for either of these guys. Next up, lightweight, Rashid Magomedov decisioned Rodrigo Dam. Magomedov just had the better striking. This fight looked exactly like every other one of Dam's fights in the UFC. I said this in my predictions that Dam, he just he tries to kickbox with all these guys, and he's been able to edge by, get decisions over guys, Matsuta Hirota and Ivan George, but those were really razor thin fights, and he's just not an active striker. Just stays on the outside, tries to land a big shot here and there, but I don't understand why he doesn't try to use his ground game more. But he's just trying to kickbox, and he's really not that effective with it. I thought he won the third round, and every judge gave Magomedov the third round, but I thought Dam came forward more and landed more strikes in that third round, but Magomedov was definitely in control that first and second round. He even got a knockdown in the first round, so solid win for Magomedov. I think he's an interesting prospect. That is coming off of a good win over Tony Martin in his debut, and I think I wanted initially I said he should fight John Makdessi, but I forgot that Makdessi was coming off of a loss over Alan Patrick in his last fight, even though I thought Makdessi won that fight, but I think Magomedov could fight Patrick or even Makdessi. He seems to prefer to fight on the feet. He seems like a pretty capable striker, so I think fighting a striker next would be a good test. But Dam, I don't think he has. I don't really see what his value is in the UFC anymore after this, and I'm not interested in seeing him, just fighting these really slow-paced, boring kickboxing matches with guys. But nice win for Magomedov. Next up, onto the main card, Robbie Peralta decisioned Honey Jason. Really disappointing fight for Honey Jason. I was really high on this guy after his last fight against his last knockout over Steven Seiler, but he did not get the decision here and didn't seem to have any sense of urgency in that third round. I thought Jason won the first round. I thought he looked good. He landed a spinning elbow at one point. I think he was going for, he threw a few flying knees. Seemed to have more technical striking than Peralta. Peralta, had his usual really aggressive style coming forward, just winging wild punches, trying to make it a brawl. And there were a few exchanges in the fight where these guys just kind of planted their feet and threw big punches, trying to knock each other out. But that second and third round, I thought Peralta won. He was able to land more on the feet than Jason, and on the ground, when Jason got him down, Peralta did a good job of reversing and getting on top. And that third round, I just thought Jason was too inactive, too laid back. Really disappointing. Again, I was really surprised that Peralta won. I picked Jason going into this. I will say Peralta seemed to fight with more of a strategy here instead of just kind of going balls to the wall, trying to throw everything at the guy, trying to knock him out. He seemed more composed here, tried to pick his openings to come forward and land those big barrages. But good win for Peralta. Jason's a really talented guy, and it's good he was able to get a win over him. I think it turned out that Honey Jason had a broken hand, and I'm sure that affected him. I think this was more of a mental case for Jason. Even from that opening round, he I just didn't get the sense of urgency from him. I didn't think he looked like as focused as he did in his other wins. But setback for Jason. I think he should fight Akira Corsani next, who has a win over Peralta. And Peralta, not sure who he should fight next. I don't think he's really gonna go too far in the division. I still think his skill set's pretty limited, but this was a nice win, and I think he did show some improvement in this fight. Next up at welterweight, Damian Maia decision, Alexander Yakovlev. I picked Damian Maia to win by decision. Previously in his UFC career, when he's fought guys ranked, basically unranked guys, he wasn't able to submit them. I'm mainly talking about the Jorge Santiago, Kendall Grove, and Mario Miranda fight. Even though he's able to get guys down, hasn't really been able to finish them, throughout his going back a few years. But Maia got a knockdown in this fight. His striking that's one part of his game that's really improved over the years, and I believe that was the first knockdown of his career. And was able to get mount first and second round, try to land some elbows from mount. Wasn't able to get the submission though, and I don't think he ever even attempted one, which was a little disappointing. And then that third round, Yakovlev came alive a bit, showed some decent striking, but then Maia was able to take him down again. So a hard-fought win for Maia, but I think his days as a contender are over. He's pretty old, 36. Seemed to have the same problem as he did in his last fight. His cardio can't really hold up over 3 rounds. He's a lot stronger in the first round than he is by the last round. And not being able to put away, a newcomer who... I'd heard that this guy's a pretty solid fighter, but I think as an elite of a fighter as Maia is, and all the top guys he's fought, he should be putting away guys like this, and can't seem to do it. I think Maia's I don't think he can really be considered a top contender anymore. I don't think he can get a win over any top guys. And Yakovlev, I don't know what to make of him. People seem to be really high on him coming into this. I don't think he really showed it here. I mean, did well to not get finished, but I didn't think much of his performance, and I guess we'll see in his next fight. Hopefully, he doesn't fight someone as highly ranked as Maia, but at least Maia got the win, but not a great fight. Next up, middleweight. This was the middleweight final from the show. Warley Alves submitted Marcio Lyoto Alexandre Jr. in the third round. I picked Alves here. He was head and shoulders above everybody on the show, both athletically and skill-wise. He just bum rushed Alexandre every time they were on the feet. Didn't give him any space to use his rangy striking. Was able to close the distance. Got good takedowns. Controlled him well on the ground. I thought he looked pretty good. I was kind of surprised he wasn't able to get the finish until the third round, but I do think he was being a little conservative. But this fight wasn't competitive at all. Lyoto had nothing for Alves. Alves is a solid prospect, I think. Seems to transition between striking and wrestling very well. Really strong athletic guy. I think it seems like he's going to be dropping down to welterweight after this fight, which is, I think, good. He looked pretty undersized for middleweight, as did everyone else on that show. Even the heavyweights seemed undersized, but good to see Alves get the win, and he's a skilled guy. I don't believe I don't buy Sonnen's Sonnen hyping this guy, saying he's gonna be able to beat Weidman in a year. He said the same thing about Uriah Hall, and nobody feels that way about Hall now. But a solid prospect, and I do think he's a guy who could be top 10 potential contender one day. Pay attention to Warley Alves, and then Lyoto. I don't think he has anything. I don't think he's going to hang around the UFC too long. Even on the show, I really wasn't impressed with him. And as I already said in this video, I really felt Abreu got robbed in that semifinals match. And if you want to argue that with me, go ahead. I'm kind of surprised no one else has been saying that, but really thought he got robbed. Next up at heavyweight, the other finals match from the show, Antonio Cara de Sapato Jr., Carlos Jr., decision Vitor Lex Luthor Miranda. This fight was not competitive at all, except for a brief moment. I believe it was at the end of the second round where Miranda was able to get on top. Not really on top. I think he had side control and was landing some elbows to the body. But this fight was all Carlos Jr. was able to get the takedown pretty much whenever he wanted. Didn't give Miranda any space on the feet. He seemed to have a lot more, sense of urgency. Fight with a lot more energy than Miranda did. Really controlled him, out-grappled him on the ground. And I thought it was a pretty disappointing fight for Miranda. I thought he looked really good in his semifinals match with Rick Monster, but good win for Junior. I think he's a talented grappler and showed some decent striking. He had a knockout win in the house. Trains with Junior Dos Santos. I believe he said he's dropping down to light heavyweight, which makes sense because as I said, all these guys were really undersized for heavyweight. But I don't really know how that's going to work out for him dropping to light heavyweight. I just don't know how his physique is going to translate to light heavyweight. But a guy to keep an eye on. I think he could do well. Seems to have the wrestling and the ground skills. Kind of disappointed he didn't get the finish here, but pretty good performance for him. And Miranda, pretty old, 35. I don't think I think they'll probably give him another fight, but I don't know. He might be able to have some fun fights. The lower tier of the heavyweight division, but I don't expect him to really do too much. And if he dropped down to light heavyweight, I don't know. We'll just have to see, but not too high on him after this fight. I think any wrestler or good grappler would really expose him like Carlos Jr. did. Next up at heavyweight, main event, Stipe Miocic knocking out Fabio Maldonado in the first round really early. Great performance for Miocic. Kind of sad, I guess, to see Maldonado get knocked out so quickly. It wasn't competitive at all, and no one seemed to really be giving him a chance going into this. I didn't think Miocic could put him out on the feet. I thought he would have to get him down and use some ground and pound to put him out, but Miocic, we saw that power come back that we haven't seen for a while since his Phil DeFries fight. But made really short work of Maldonado, like he should have, and proved that Maldonado has no business fighting a guy as highly ranked as Miocic. I know it was a last-minute replacement, but still, Maldonado, I think we'll all be happy to see him go back to light heavyweight and have some more of those really exciting brawls. But you know, it's good that Miocic made such quick work of him and really, retained his status as an elite heavyweight. I think if this had, gone several rounds, people wouldn't be so high on Miocic anymore, especially taking on a light heavyweight. But I'm still interested in that matchup with Dos Santos. Not that I think it could be competitive, but just because everyone else seems to be tied up at heavyweight right now. There's still guys like Bigfoot Silva, Josh Barnett, but I don't really want to see Miocic fight either of them. And then Hunt and Nelson just got tied up. Maybe a fight with Overeem also if he can't fight Dos Santos. I think that's a fine fight. But that Dos Santos fight, I think, is going to be really tough for him. Even though he's got wrestling, I just think Dos Santos is way too quick on the feet, way too athletic. And Dos Santos has really good takedown defense himself. Miocic is certainly no Kane with the wrestling, but that's the kind of fight Miocic needs to get the title shot. But I guess after a pretty, not a great card, kind of slow, it was nice to see him take out Maldonado so quickly. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that fight. But thanks for watching, guys. That's my recap for TUF Brazil 3 finale. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like the video, comment, subscribe. Check out my recap for Berlin if you want to, and check out my predictions for UFC Fight Night 42, Henderson versus Khabibov. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you next time. Bye.